Is it rolling, Bob? YouTube. YTPC. Greetings from America. We're still here. But we're really worried. It was a real shit show last week, and it might happen again next week. We'll see. But in the meantime, we forge ahead. Special day for me today, coming to you from the hut. Or as Carl, the Newton Piper might say, the bunker. I've been planning this for months now. Finally made some significant progress. This is my first video and first smoke in here. Just kind of put some semi-finishing touches on it today. Been very lucky with the weather. Here it is mid-January and it's about 35 degrees, about 5°C. Sunny and dry, nice, warm enough to work outside. Had a number of these days the last few weeks and getting this thing done. As I speculated in my earlier videos about this, I kind of stuck to my plan. I'm building this at home, and if things go according to plan, next spring I hope to disassemble it in pieces and take it to my woodlot in north central Massachusetts, USA. Haul it up into the woods and set it up. Have a place to hang out and weather and smoke, and I'm hoping to sleep a few nights. It's coming together pretty well. My plan was to buy native lumber. This is native rough sawn white pine, Pinus strobus. It's a very common lumber species in the northeastern United States and across to the upper Midwest. And for you folks in the UK, that was the species that back in the 1700s, I think the 1700s, your king used to come across the ocean and select the very best white pine for the masts of your sailing ships. Kind of pissed us off. But anyway, it's still a very common tree. Certainly don't have many of the specimens that they had back then, but it's a good wood for rough uses like this. Knotty pine paneling, knotty pine cabinets. When the best clear wood is selected, it can be used for moldings, interior and exterior. Not terribly rot resistant. I don't think you really have anything like this exactly in Europe. The Pinus sylvestris, the Scots pine you have over there, is a little harder than this. It's more like our red pine here, I think. It's a nice soft wood, easy to work with. But what we have here is, as I said, rough sawn green lumber. So I put it together in a way that it can be disassembled and the boards move together tighter. I have a couple of places I've left overlapping boards, so when they shrink as they dry out, I can cut them for a better fit. because the joints between here, traditionally they put battens, little strips on the outside, board and batten siding, because the wood expands and contracts, especially sideways, along across the width. I'm hoping I could just squeeze things tight enough together. I don't have to do that because you know, the need for weather tightness on this little thing is not that great. It's kind of a unique construction in that it's frameless. And these boards are solid, 1 inch thick, so they've got a lot of strength vertically. Don't need a frame. The only framing I have is really to kind of just hold the pieces to one another, and eventually when I put some more, just to keep them flat and keep them tight together and things like that. But in terms of vertical structural strength, the boards themselves provide more than enough. The floor I cheated. I used a piece of plywood. So this is 4 feet by 8 feet, standard plywood size here in the U.S. It's about what, 1.5 by 2.5 meters, I guess. It's about as small as I could make it and still consider it somewhat useful for sitting in and sleeping and hanging out and writing or reading or whatever. So far I'm pretty pleased. I'm not 100% done, but I'll take you outside in a minute and just show you around. Smoking today my Missouri Meerschaum with some Codger blend, half and half. Figured it was a good pipe for a working man, carpenter. I don't play one on TV, but I have done some reasonably good carpentry over the years. And I might as well keep this short. I'd rather just sit here and smoke this pipe, but no need to keep you guys. You know, I don't have any fancy pipes. I have certainly pipes fancier than this. But I wouldn't say a fancy pipe and a fancy blend is an order of magnitude better than this. Especially out here in the cool weather. One other thing, this is a stock Missouri Meerschaum Diplomat, I think, and stock stem, with a little vinyl tubing on the end. But what I've kind of decided to do, inspired by Beans 316 and others, is try to make some kind of acrylic stem for this. I'm getting to the point now where I've got some tooling and I can do a little more sophisticated stem work, and I may give that a shot. If I manage to pull that off, I'll tell you about it at some point in the future. Just get this, make sure this is going good, and then I'll take you outside. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see what we can do here. Try not to make you seasick. So that's the interior. Very minimal framing on the roof. my smoking jar, smoking mug, and old-fashioned board door with the Z brace. Now, obviously, the door doesn't fit, but that's intentional because, as I said, I'm expecting all this stuff to shrink a little bit, and I'm going to adjust things later. Everything is kind of screwed together loosely, minimal amount of screws, so I can move things around later and tighten them up. It's just sitting on some concrete blocks, 8 inches off the ground for now. The floor frame is pressure treated with 2x4s. Temporary tarp on the roof. I haven't exactly decided what I'm going to use for roofing material. Maybe just some heavy tar paper, so I can smoke in a tar paper shack. Go around the other side. Step back a little bit, get a bigger picture. Right in the middle there on the sides, that's one of the overlapping boards that eventually I will cut to fit tightly once things shrink. This green lumber is right out, just they take the tree and they put it in a sawmill and cut it up into rough dimensions, and there it is. It's not kiln dried, it's not planed. That all happens later in the kind of lumber you typically buy in a lumber yard or your big box store or whatever. That wood is all planed and cut to standard dimensions. This stuff is rough. You can see on that particular board, you can see the arcs where the big circular saw in the sawmill went through. Big pine log and cut it into slabs. It's definitely going to have that rustic look that I was going for a little shack out in the country. I love watching YouTube videos and see what kind of places people find to smoke. We're not all so fortunate we can smoke inside the house in an office or a den or something like that. Even in the basement, many of us, we're out in the garage, we're out in the shed. Some of us have special places that we've made. I'm here in Massachusetts, so it's the home of one of the most famous hut dwellers, Henry David Thoreau. Not too far from here. He's inspired many generations of people who like to hang out in rough structures out in the woods. With that, I'll say thanks for joining me. Be safe out there. And as they say, keep us in your thoughts and prayers for next week. Signing out.